just talk about thanks first for giving me the opportunity to talk about the investment opportunities in food and agri ecosystem. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to talk about this thing. I'm just going to put in a full screen and talk about what we're doing, the agri opportunities there. Just to start, I'm giving you a brief background of what we are, right? As a fund, we are an impact venture fund. We invest into entrepreneurs building the future of agri and food ecosystem in the Indian markets, right? And we've been doing this for nearly a decade. We started way before uh, anyone started investing across the country in the food and agri segment. I just want to question, are you able to see the screen? That's the only thing.
I can't see the screen. It's showing like a black screen.
You can't see the screen. Stop. I don't know how to. Sharing is paused. Bring your window to the front. Okay. 1 second.
Yeah, now it's showing.
Now it's seen, right? Thanks.
Yeah.
We're going to talk about the global trends in the agriculture and the food ecosystem. It would just give a context of how the agri ecosystem across the world is happening and how India is aligning with the same. If you take a look, the global food ecosystem is really ripe for any disruption, right? Because there are few parameters which really works for investment thesis. One, agriculture as a sector is one of the least digitized sector globally. Also, we have major problems, right? We have 1/3 of the food which is being produced for human beings is wasted, whether it's wasted at the source or wasted at the point of consumption is a point of debate, right? The Western world loses a lot of food at the point of consumption, while in the developing market, we lose at the source itself. At the same time, our planet has lost quite a few good producing lands because of abusive usage of the traditional agri practice what we had. Our climate also is going to face a major concern because of the climate change, right? And agriculture is one of a big contributor to the same to the problem. We have nearly 250 million people, small farmers. If the climate change happens out, it could disrupt their livelihood. It could change how the small and marginal farmers could be having issues in the productivity of their own crops. And also, agriculture as a sector uses maximum amount of the fresh water available globally. It's because of the old practice of using flood irrigation or without using some kind of a drip irrigation technology that we are facing this crisis. Good thing is that when we have problems, right? Investors sense an opportunity, right? And this is true even for investors, and they have been looking at the ag sector for quite some time. The journey really in agri investment started in 2012, 13, 14 kind of time frame, where Climate Corp was acquired, and that was a trigger point. And in the last 7-8 years, the sector has grown phenomenally. We probably have $8 billion of investment in 2020, and I think in 2021 it was closer towards $10 billion. The sector has grown tremendously. Just a broad context, how things evolved in the last decade, right? In 2000, the early part was all about making product companies which were acquired by the 6 companies globally, whether it's Syngenta or Bayer or BASF or erstwhile Monsanto. They have been acquiring companies, and that was the exit for the investors. In 2012-13, when Climate Corp was acquired by Monsanto, erstwhile Monsanto, that was a trigger for precision agriculture or digital agriculture. And we have seen quite a few companies getting acquired, like Blue River or Granular. And early part of this decade, today, if I look today, the agri ecosystem is fairly well robust, right? We have seen quite a few multiple exits, whether in terms of IPO, in terms of strategic acquisitions, and the ecosystem seems to be getting better, right? I'm just going to the Indian side, how things are looking from the agri perspective. India is a very large agri player globally, right? Or 20% of India's GDP is agriculture related, right? That's nearly $500 billion kind of a GDP. And we are very large player in quite a few commodities. We probably are number one or number two in most of the commodities of relevance for us, right? And and we also have situations where India has been able to produce its own requirement. We don't export much, we don't import much, it's more like an island. But in the last few years, we have seen significant exports happening across the country. And this number will keep on increasing going forward. I mean, one important factor we should look in agri sector is that it's 120, 30 million farmers when the land holding is very, very tiny. And that's a concern, but at the same time, a huge opportunity as well. What the latest study is saying that we're going to add nearly $150 billion of GDP in agriculture sector in the next 3 to 5 years, right? And that's going to be driven from things like exports. I mean, India was a self-sufficient ecosystem in terms of we never imported much, never exported much. But in the last 3 to 4 years, where the government of India realized that we are not a food scarce country, but a food surplus country, we started making our agriculture aligned towards the global market. And that what we are seeing is like around $50 billion of export happened in the last year itself. We will see a significant amount of precision agriculture being done. I mean, the government of India and the new drone policies has started showing those things. We think with the new launch of 5G and hopefully 6G and 7G in the next decade, in the coming decade, we will see more and more devices being used in the agriculture sector, which is going to change the way how data is getting captured in the ag sector. We believe marketplaces, the way how farmers, that is producers, will reach to the consumers either through intermediaries or directly to their homes. That's going to be a significant market opportunity for a lot of people. And one important thing, which is probably a one of the most critical component is the access of credit, right? We just don't have enough organized credit in the agri sector. And we think in the next 5, 6 years, around 10 to 15% of Indian farmers will start using digital credit, and that's going to be a game changer. While there's a huge opportunity, Indian agri also faces a lot of crisis situation, right? Our land holding is tiny, right? 1.1 hectare of land, which is very, very small. We have a water crisis, right? Nearly less than half of our land is agriculture is irrigated with the modern means. We have been using rain-fed agriculture as an alternative. At the same time, in places where irrigation was available, our farmers have abused the use of water and soil. And so in some places, especially in the northern parts of the country, I mean, the water table has dropped significantly. In spite of all these things, our productivity is very low as compared to global benchmarks, and we need to work towards the same, right? Also, the terms of trade for Indian farmers are very, very poor. The farmers don't get much the money, but the intermediaries, there is the traders, the adults, they make more money than the farmers. So it's a big concern for the sector as well. Like every other sector, India has a poor infrastructure for agriculture sector also, right? Low mechanization, low warehousing, low cold storage, and that's a big concern. Uh, at the same time, we don't have much access to the financial organized credit, and farmers end up paying like 30 to 40% interest per annum. And any business which has to pay 30, 40% per annum interest is always going to be a painful business to work with. But at the same time, I mean, good thing is that in spite of India having lots of small farmers, we have created large companies, right? Large global players. I mean, like UPL, it's the fifth largest chemical company in the world. I mean, Mahindra is the largest tractor company, Gen Irrigation, the second largest irrigation company. Amul and Tata Consumer, nothing to talk about it. I mean, they've been, so India has, in spite of all the small farmers, we have the opportunity and have created large enterprises. And that gives an option for a lot of investors to invest in this sector, right? And when we look at the entire sector, we break the three areas which are three driving factors for new entrepreneurs and new investors in the sector, right? We are seeing that the smartphone penetration in the rural India is increasing. At the same time, I mean, thanks to Jio and Airtel fight and erstwhile Vodafone, the data charges in in India are very very low, and they have a reasonably decent speed, especially on the Geo network, right? And I think the government India stack has sown the seed for bringing most of the farmers into the digitization, and that's really helping. Uh, at the same time, from the societal perspective, right, our increasing incomes is forcing us to change our diets, right? We have moved from a grain-based diet country towards a more protein-demanding country. I mean, our consumption of fruits and vegetables has grown significantly. At the same time, because of, and especially because of COVID, we have started to talk about traceability, about food safety, and that's putting a demand side pressure, which hopefully the suppliers would be able to take care. At the same time, I mean, you have a significant amount of entrepreneurs happening, right? India is facing a situation where the manufacturing sector and the services sector are not able to generate the employment at the rate what we need, right? So, but the agri sector, especially the village level entrepreneurs and who are running micro centers in the villages, that's providing a significant employment in the youth, right? And that's something which is very very interesting. Uh, I think at the same time, we'll see our farmers moving from rice and wheat towards more horticulture, to a more poultry, more floriculture. And that is going to improve the way how their income diversity also improves around it. uh, in our ecosystem, like what we see is that India is like a laboratory for all the smallholder farmers globally. I mean, nearly half a billion farmers are small. When we define small is less than 5 hectares and below, right? That's the market we're talking around it. It nearly supports around 2.5 billion people in terms of the livelihoods, in terms of the food and the supply, right? And if you take a look why India is the lab for all the smaller farmers, and we are seeing especially early stage companies are now going globally and focusing on Southeast Asia and the African market as well, right? So India is a home for all agroclimatic zones available globally. I mean, it's a leader in the engineering and the software space, right? And it's having a great talent in the automobile industry, because automobile is important for creating the frugal engineering requirement for the low cost machine mechanization what India needs it. At the same time, we have good vibrant startup ecosystem where we have lots of good entrepreneurs. At the same time, investors available, and for the first time, we are seeing more and more traction. The general VCs are also now looking at agri-tech sector, and hopefully this trend will continue. And this is represented by the fact that in the last 6 7 years, I think the agri-tech investment has gone up like nearly 10 to 20 times. And the number is just increasing. I mean, 21, 22 would be closer towards $750 million. And I believe that this trend will going to last for next few years for sure. Uh, I mean, just from a brief perspective, how we look as agri sector, right? I mean, we are a impact fund, and with a clear theory of change, right? That whatever we do should impact the farmers in a positive manner, right? We need to increase the profits for the smallholder farmers by increasing the yields, by reducing the expenditures. At the same time, we want to improve the farmer resilience, right? Because it's not that the farming is a bad profession, but there is no consistency of income in the farming sector. So if we are able to use innovative risk and risk solutions, we will be able to increase the resilience. And these are all, each area represents an opportunity for investors to make investment in the sector. Uh, India needs to improve and make the agriculture practices more sustainable, right? Because if we are not able to do this, I think our climate change is going to hurt badly for India, and we could see around 20% of Indian farmers losing their lands, and they will not be able to do agriculture on that. So broadly, when we look as a fund, how the 6 agri-tech themes, what we are, right? I mean, and most of the agri-tech and food systems are captured here. I'm not talking of the delivery companies like Zomato or Swiggy. That's a very different business. I'm talking about the agri-tech and the food tech business, right? So the most active right now is the pharma platforms and fintech. I mean, we have seen at least 30% of the agri-tech investments happening in this sector. Another important area which Indian investors are looking and have been making significant investment, the precision agriculture, right? The IoT devices, the drones. And I think for the first time, the government is so positive about precision agriculture. They are motivating the entrepreneurs to think differently and helping them to grow. One area which is not of much focus in Indian market, but we desperately need that, is the life sciences business. Uh, we don't have enough people working on the next generation of seeds, not working on the livestock. I mean, we just replicating what the West has been doing, but it's an area where in next 5 6 years, especially when the climate change is going to hit, I think if we are able to focus today on making the right seeds, right alternates to chemicals, I mean, figure out a way to improve the biological fertilizers. I think this is an area, if we do a good job today, I think can throw a significant amount of returns going forward. B2B market, agri marketplaces are happening. It started later than the farmer platforms, but I think we are seeing significant focus on the same. Another area which we don't have much focus as a country is the post-harvest technologies. When anyone talks of agri, it's all about saying how can we produce more, right? But it's in agriculture, it's not about producing more. It's about saying if I have produced enough, how can I make to reach to the consumers? And that is where the post-harvest technologies, we are not seeing much investment, but it's right for making new investments there. And the last what we call is the F2C brand, which is every branded player company has it, like with QSR or the FMCG companies that source from farmers and tries to sell to the consumers. It has been a challenging sector. Lots of money has been gone. Not real success has happened except with Basket and others, a couple of them. But I think this is one area, if we innovate this, it could change the way how food is being produced and food is being consumed. I mean, that was about from my side about the Agritech investment piece. I mean, if you have any questions, happy to take. I'm not sure if I finished on time or not.